Welcome back to the Omnipeek channel. My name is Chris Bloom, and boy do I have a good one for you today. Everybody loves Omnipeek for all kinds of reasons, but if you were to ask somebody, what do you love Omnipeek for? They would go, wireless. And of course, it's true. Going way back, AeroPeek, EtherPeek, all kinds of peaks. Omnipeek is pretty much most well known for its wireless capabilities. We can capture packets from access points, from different kinds of dongles, from an AirPCAP dongle. In fact, we offer our own dongle called the Live Action USB dongle. And with that, you can actually aggregate packets from different channels. So let's say you want to do channel 1, 6, and 11 at the same time. You can get 3 of these, hook them up to a powered USB hub, and you can capture on those channels at the same time. Why would you want to do that? Well, one reason is roaming analysis. Yeah, so you've got different kinds of voice over IP devices that are wireless, and they're traveling around, and they're roaming from AP to AP. And it doesn't always work. Maybe it's slow, maybe you got a sticky AP, maybe one has too much signal strength. There's all kinds of reasons why the roaming of your clients could be slow between your APs. And a couple of these, aggregating the channels and using our roaming analysis is the perfect way to know if your roaming latency is high, and if it is, to actually troubleshoot that. So that's a big one, but there's a lot more. One is the WLAN view. What does my network look like? You know, there's a lot of nodes out there. There's a lot of APs out there. In Omnipeek, you can break this down into the APs and the clients in a hierarchical view, and makes it really easy to tell what's going on in your network and other networks. So it's a really great view, and can't wait to show that to you. Another great feature of Omnipeek for wireless is, of course, the ability to decrypt. Omnipeek can decrypt WEP, WPA, WPA2. I'll give you an example of that as well. Then there's all the analysis that it can do. So you've captured the packets, maybe you've decrypted it. Now you're like, okay, I want to know what's going on with my wireless network. What are the data rates, retransmission, signal strength, things like that. And you don't have to look at the packets, at least not as the very first thing you do. So Omnipeek has all of the types of analysis that you can imagine for wireless. Now keep in mind, Omnipeek is not a full spectrum analyzer. There are other products out there that are in the form of these little USB devices that you can use for that. But for protocol analysis with some spectrum capabilities, just like the noise, the signal strength, then Omnipeek is great for that. So finally, you've done all the analysis. Maybe you have to actually look at the packets. Well, Omnipeek decodes all 802.11, A, B, G, N, AC, AX. That's right, we decode AX management packets. Now, a lot of you have been asking, can I capture AC data packets? Can I capture AX data packets, Wi-Fi 6? It depends. Those drafts define certain kinds of data packets that cannot be captured by this dongle. However, the management packets for those data packets, all the setup, everything that's going to be done with those data packets is described over, a B, and we decode all of that. So let's say you're setting up for beamforming. You're going to do some MIMO. And so there's going to be like all kinds of crazy stuff going on with the data packets. Well, we're not going to be able to capture those, because how do you actually capture 2 data packets at the same time going out in different directions? That's a physics problem. We won't be able to solve that here. But the management packets that describe what the AP and the clients are going to do, those are going to be captured, and we have all the decodes for those. So, of course, as well, and I say this all the time because it's true, the packet list view in Omnipeek is really great. It's great for wireless, especially since you can choose any decode, any field in any decode, and you can make that part of the packet list. You like that? So I've always been a big fan of it. Every time I show customers the ability to create new packet list columns dynamically just by choosing a field out of the decode, they're like, oh my God. And let's say you don't like one of our decodes, or there's something proprietary about either your wireless decode or the application under that. Our decodes are all in text, so you could actually go in there and change the decodes yourself, add new ones. I've been doing it for a long time. We have our own little language called the decoder language, and we have a guy on staff who is keeping those decodes up to date. So you don't actually have to do it, but if you wanted to, you can. All the documentation is up on the Omnipeek site. So with that, I'm going to dive in, and we're going to take a look at some of these really cool wireless features in Omnipeek. And the first thing I want to do is go ahead and create a capture on my wireless adapter or adapters. These little guys here. Now, I happen to have 3 of these connected to my PC on a USB powered hub, and it needs to be powered because these things suck a lot of juice. And if you try to hook them all up to the ports on your PC, actually that would be fine, but if you take a non-powered hub and connect a bunch of these, it's not going to work. So use a USB powered hub for that. So the first thing we're going to do is, as we always do, new capture, and we're going to go to adapters, and you can see here that we've got a couple of Wi-Fi adapters, and not only do they say Wi-Fi, but you can tell they're Wi-Fi because they have the little Wi-Fi signal on top of them. So I've got 3 of these that have the little signal, so I can use 3 of these to capture wireless traffic. In order to capture from your wireless adapter, you need to load our wireless driver. And you can find that over at mypeek.liveaction.com. It also ships with Omnipeek. So you got to load that driver, reboot your machine, and they will appear as adapters with a little Wi-Fi signal on top of them. So you can see here in my adapter list, I have 3 of them, and I could select any one of them to capture on. And that's great, but we want to aggregate them together because that's super cool. So I'm not going to select just one of them here. Instead, I'm going to go up to this other adapter called the Aggregator adapter. And I cheated. I had already created one, and it lists the different adapters, and then I went in and I changed the channel of each one of them. So on one, I'm capturing on channel 1, the other channel 6, the other on channel 11. And this guy is called Aggregator 0, that's fine. By the way, you can see here there's wired adapters. If I had multiple ports on my laptop or wherever hanging off a USB port, I could capture from Ethernet ports at the same time. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but at least in the same capture. You might want to do that if you were going to capture at the same time on different segments and then use our super cool multi-segment analysis feature. But that's in another episode. For now, we're going to stick with the wireless adapters, and we're going to hit OK on that. And we're going to hit, okay, well, let's make sure everything's the way we want. We're going to do all analysis, and boom. So now we've created a capture, and see now instead of saying just start adapter, it says start aggregator, right? So we're going to start the aggregator. Well, I'm on the protocols tab here just by default, and you can see we're already capturing some traffic. It's coming in quick. You know, these are the protocols we're seeing on these different channels. Remember, we're not scanning here like, you know, a little bit at a time like we could with a single adapter, which is a useful use case as well. We are capturing on these 3 different channels all the time, aggregating into the same capture. And one good way to take a look at that is to go to, well, there's lots of good ways. So we'll just kind of cruise through them real quick. This is our signal view. So you can see we're capturing on channel 1, channel 6, channel 11. Now, there's a little bit of bleed over here and there. So we're seeing some signal strength on those channels as well. That's pretty typical. Another way would be in Compass. Here we're looking at Compass. I had already switched Compass to signal strength. This view is really great because it's real time. It's very interactive. So I'm looking at the signal strength, you know, 0 to 100. Now that's average, so over all the channels. But let's say, you know, I want to break it out. So I'm going to go to the different channels. Let's go 1, and you know, there's a couple of them going. Now we'll go back up. So now you can see all of those channels are being graphed at the same time. And they're bars, so maybe not the best way to see it. We can change them to lines. So there we go. You can see I'm just looking at a section here. I can always open that up as well just by hitting the reset. Now we're seeing the whole range of time. It's just a nice feature, very nice feature, to be able to select a small range of that, and it'll zoom in on it. And you know, we can see the whole thing down at the bottom, but up at the top, we're just looking at that one area because it could be a wide range of time. So signal strength for all those channels. Anything we look at in Compass is across all those channels. Like we could be looking at the noise level. So noise level percentage, and it'll switch over to that. We could be looking at the signal to noise ratio. There we go. Or probably the most important, you know, because signal strength is important if you're having a problem with it, or if you're having some other problem that is caused by signal strength. But really, what are the data rates that we're seeing across these different channels? Because of course your clients are going to be negotiating with your APs to determine what the data rate should be. So you can see here on channel 1, our data rate is channel 1. Oh, that's channel 6 is like 8. You can see the channel 11 data rate pretty low, and then the what is that? That channel 1 is just all over the place. So, you know, that's pretty interesting. It looks like, now by the way, 1, 6, and 11 in my house, these are different networks. They're, you know, so this isn't as realistic as it might be in an office network where you'd be able to roam across all of those. Speaking of roaming, that is an excellent use case for aggregating your traffic. And I don't have any roaming in this real-time scenario, but I do have a PCAP file with some roaming in it, and let's go take a look at that. So let's go to our roaming log. If we had a client that was roaming from one AP to another, then what we'd see in our roaming log are the different roams. We'd see where the client roamed from and where it roamed to. Here's the source AP, the destination AP, and of course, how long that roam took. Look, we have a roam that took 17 seconds. That user is not happy. maybe he's the president, and then he's calling you. And that's why you're looking at this. So this is great. It also, from this point, you can just go straight to the packet. So I can go click and boom, I'm at the association packet. Now, what is a roam, by the way? A roam is well, at least the way we define it in Omnipeek, is the last data packet on one AP and the first data packet on another AP. Now, there's all that, disassociation and reassociation in between, but from the user's point of view, it's a data packet. They don't know that there's all this other stuff under the hood. They're just like, okay, I heard your voice and then I didn't hear your voice and I heard your voice. Well, those are the data packets. Now, if you're like a wireless developer and you're like, that's not the definition of a roam. A roam is the association packet or the ACK packet. There are options in the settings where you can change how we define the roam. So you can look for that in the roaming plugin configuration settings. So what other cool things can we do for wireless? I think we should try to decrypt some packets. I don't have any encrypted packets, but there are some that come with Omnipeek. So all we got to do is go over to the good old start page, go to our sample files, and what do you know? There's some WPA2 packets there that are encrypted, and I've already loaded up that file. So if you go here to protocols, you can see lots of data. Where's my HTTP? Where's all the good stuff? Well, it's encrypted, so we can't see it. We see all the management packets because those aren't encrypted, and we see some 802.11 control. We see some ePOL keys, and of course, we're going to use those to actually decrypt the packet. So how do we do this? Okay, so as you can see, these are the only protocols we can see at the moment, and with a bunch of encrypted data. So I'm going to go over to the packets. First of all, nothing up my sleeve. Abracadabra, alakazoo. I'm going to decrypt some packets for you. Here's how we do it. We select all. We go to tools. We say decrypt all packets. Now, we have to have specified what the keys are, and I cheated. Okay, I guess I do have something up my sleeve. I cheated. I went ahead and entered some of the this information. So I entered the phrase, which is wild packets, and the SSID black slate, and those are in the sample file. You'll see that as well. So if you want to try this with your Omnipeek, you can go open that file. You can enter the phrase and the SSID, and we'll hit OK. Hit OK here. And remember, so I had already selected them. I said decrypt, and boom. Now, okay, the magic's happening. You saw a little flash there. And now we'll go back to protocols. Whoa. There is my HTTP, there's my DNS, there's everything, right? So you don't see anymore just a big pile of encrypted data. You see all of the protocols that we would expect to see. Now, having done this, it's cool, and there are use cases for it, but most of the troubleshooting that you would need to do on your network does not require the decryption. You can do that anyway. All right, so there's decryption. Enough about that. Let's move on to another really cool feature, which is the WLAN view. The WLAN view is amazing. Why? Because when we think about a wireless network, we think about the APs that make up that network and all the clients associated with it. But how do you get that image in your head if you're just looking at packets? Well, you can't. So in Omnipeek, we give you a great view called the WLAN view. And the WLAN view does all that work for you. And there it is. With the WLAN view, I can see all of my wireless networks. There's me, I'm Orbi76. And there's some of my devices that I have connected to that network. Oh my gosh, the laundry room has its own AP. I did not realize that. So yeah, this is a great view for each one of those networks. You can see the APs, you can see what we call stations, you can see the channel that they're on, the band, whether it's encrypted, what kind of encryption, the trust level. Trust is a whole feature that you can use to set trust on different APs. There's all kinds of things you can see in here, and even more if you right click and see what other kinds of columns that you can show in this view. So WLAN view, fantastic for understanding what's in the network and in real time. If I have a device that changes the data rate, well, it'll change here. Or the signal strength, it'll change here. So very useful. So last but not least is all this analysis, right? But sooner or later, you might actually have to look at the packets. And I did mention that we got a great packet list view in Omnipeek. So let's go ahead and look at some packets. Now I'm just going to go straight to the packets view, but in Omnipeek, in all of the analysis, and if you've heard any one of my videos, I say it all the time, you can always right click from any of the high level analysis in Omnipeek to get to the packets. So that's a workflow. So you might be looking at the flow, and then you go from the flow to the packets, or looking at the data rate, or from the data rate to the packets, or wherever. You can always get to the packets from wherever you are, because it is a protocol analyzer. You have to get back to work, and I have to get back to work. So thank you for joining us on the Omnipeek channel. We look forward to seeing you in our next video. If you have any questions about Omnipeek, about wireless, of course, I didn't talk about the Edge today, so I got to throw that in because the Edge can do wireless too. Then, give us a call, send us an email, and ask questions. We do have an Omnipeek trial, so you can go to our website. You can download the trial, get yourself a dongle. By the way, the dongle is dirt cheap, so make sure when you buy them, buy 3 of them, or at least 2, so you can do that aggregation. Have a great day. Bye.